Clay, thanks for taking the time. My first question is, I wanted to find out, how did you learn about the band? Was this a event that you went to back in the '80s? Someone told you about Scum? Tell me how you
You know,
first learned about them.
I grew up in Iowa, and I wasn't really too much into the music scene, so I had never heard of them until about 13, 14 years ago when I was in graduate school at USC Film School, and that was when I first heard of them. And so it was really a great kick for me, and I finally got connected with the band. They ended up contacting me because of another documentary that I had made called Papatopoulos, which is about a B-movie director who had sort of been an up-and-coming director in the '80s and is now better known for doing late-night Cinemax films like The Devil Wears Nada and House on Hooter Hill, and it ended up being a really great and fun documentary. And Art Bauer, the lead singer of the band, contacted me because of that film and said, I saw your doc and I really enjoyed it because it was both entertaining and informative, but it was also, it had a good sense of humor. And he said, we've been wanting to put together something about our band, and I was immediately excited because I had heard of these guys and some of their antics, and it sort of it predated everything that is going on now with the social media, but they really were able to put together an incredible machine of sorts. So I was immediately interested, and he started sharing with me footage that they had already shot, and there was so much to sift through, but there was definitely some brilliant stuff there. So I couldn't help but be interested, and then it just became a question of like, what was the best form? I started going around to pitch TV series, one-offs, and eventually settled on pulling everything together. It's a long story, but eventually settled on pulling everything together into this doc. And it turned out incredible.
It's amazing how all the parts got connected. So you first met Hart, and he's the one that had all this footage and documentation.
Yeah. So I finally met Hart. I flew out to, I guess it was a few years ago now that I flew out to Florida and finally met him when I came out to do some interviews with the band. We hadn't met before that.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. And what was it like when you actually got to talk with them and learn firsthand about their antics?
It was a little bit, I guess, exactly what you'd expect. They're all genuinely nice guys. They have a hard edge to them sometimes, which can be a little intimidating. And I also learned quickly, we were filming in we set up for the first round of interviews that we were doing with them, some formal interviews, and you're always looking for a nice place. I communicated that, I'd like to do these all in one house if we can. Sometimes we try to go around to, each individual's home, but we're trying to get it done quickly. And so I said, I really, whoever has the nicest house of you guys, if we can just get everybody together in one space, that would be terrific. They said, oh, no problem. So we'll do it over at John's place. It's a huge mansion. You'll love it. It's got a lot of great space, great light, it's perfect. So we went over there to film, and we got through. We were doing Hart's interview last, and halfway through his interview, the door bursts open, and in comes this guy who starts screaming at us and saying, what the F is going on here? And he's like carrying luggage from, turns out, this house did not belong to John Eaton, the guitar player. They knew of this guy and knew he was out of town, and they had actually gotten us into his home without his permission. And they all ran off screaming and laughing. And it took a long time to get it straightened out. for me, but boy, did they think that was the funniest thing ever. Long story short, I quickly came to realize I had to be really careful with what these guys were telling me. You know, they've made their they've made their name on kind of obfuscating the truth from people, and learned that I was not immune to that either.
So you learned firsthand of some of their antics back in the day.
Yeah. They haven't really slowed down with those antics at all. They're still alive and well.
Now that baits the question. You know, if the homeowner didn't come back, were they going to tell you eventually that it wasn't their home, or were they saying just how far they could take that whole facade?
That does beg the question, and it's anybody's guess. I mean, if I had to guess, I would say these guys they'll push everything just as far as they can get away with it. So, I've since changed a little bit the way I approach things with them. I really do like them, but I try not to stay in the same hotel with them. I try to offer myself a few protections here and there.
That's fantastic.
So, they're really great fun to be around if you can find yourself a safe distance to do it from.
I understand. So when you were doing the documentary and they were telling you about all their antics, was it planned antics, or was it just part of their personalities and they just went with the flow?
Was it what antics?
Were they planned antics? You know, everything they did, was it purposeful, or was it just let's do this and see what happens?
It's a mixture. I mean, I really think my read on it is they definitely have some, stories of pre-planned things that they pulled off that are incredible, and but they also have a huge number of just like off the cuff things. Like we've got great footage in the film, some old VHS footage of them performing on TV, and I was like, I can't believe back then you guys were able to get on TV. And he goes, oh yeah. Hart again he said, you know how that happened. I said, no, what happened? He said, well, I told Pat, the bass player, I was like, I'm going to get us on TV, and I called up and tried to get on this show, and they just flat out turned me down and hung up on me. And he just laughed, and I said, Hart said, no, I'm going to get us on there. So he called back again and impersonated Joe Walsh of the Eagles. And so he says, hey, man, you guys are really making a big mistake. You guys are really screwing up. I'm managing these kids now, and these guys are the next big thing. Like, you're really screwing up. And the next thing he knows, he got him booked on the show. And he said they just were catering to us. They gave us everything we wanted in the green room. Like, they just acted like we were the greatest thing ever. And they have so many stories like this that I think were halfway invented, spur of the moment, but they all kind of tend to, some of them are just like, college shenanigans, but a lot of them also kind of reflect back this, a sense of disregard for the self-importance that comes with a lot of celebrity. And I think that's what makes them so attractive.
Right. That's what a great way you put it. Right. It was just a blatant disregard for the system, and they were getting what they were wanting. So what was their ultimate desire, the ultimate outcome that they wanted for the band? Were they just going with the flow until they fell into place with their lives, or were they really wanting to take the band to a full-blown career?
I think the answer is one word: chicks. I think they just wanted to meet girls and have a good time. I don't think they had any huge. I mean, they'll tell you they had no great desire to become a famous band or anything like that. And that's one of the things that Eddie Trunk of VH1 was saying about them in the film. Is they had a lot going for them. They had they didn't have everything, but they had more than what some other more famous groups of that time had. And he said, these guys just didn't take it seriously. And from what I've seen, I think that's true. I think they certainly had a lot of momentum behind them at one point, and I kind of like that they weren't trying to get famous. I kind of like that this was just a bunch of guys goofing off in their spare time, and that this is a story of what can happen with that. Like that, I find that sort of inspiring.
Right. Just a couple more questions, Clay. And now, what did they confide in you, or was there ever a moment of quiet where they actually, revealed their true selves to you about where they are today, what they wish they would have done different? Do they wish they would have pursued it and become that huge band?
That's a good question. I do feel like we've had moments. I genuinely like each and every one of these guys, and I wouldn't say that we've had that exact talk. We've definitely talked about it on camera, but I feel like I've gotten different answers each time from them. I feel like sometimes they've said, we did exactly what we wanted to do, and other times they said, yeah, it would have been nice to be bigger and to be more famous, but that's not really what we were after either. So I kind of feel like I've gotten both answers, and maybe that's the truth of it. It depends on whether you're asking on a Monday or a Tuesday. It's always nice to look back and think about what might have been, but I think their overarching story is one of just being willing to go for it. That was when I started on this project, I felt like that was one thing I knew I would learn from these guys is what happens when you're not afraid to try.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, fantastic way to look at it. When you have basically nothing to lose, why not try?
Exactly.
Yeah.
They just, so many of their stories relate exactly to that, of something that they just weren't intimidated by the status quo or by the way that other people have done it, and they just picked up the ball and ran with it in a way that very few other people do. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but at the end of the day, those are the kind of stories that you want to have to tell your buddies over beers years later,
Right. Something to tell your kids the things that you did.
Yeah, and I think maybe the answer to your question about what they wanted is best answer. Without giving too much away of what's going on in the film, like they are planning a reunion now. They've been getting back together again, and they're practicing, and they're really putting forth a full effort to put together and bring out an actual album. So I guess maybe that's really where we should be looking for the answer, because I don't think they'd be doing that if they didn't have some interest in it yet.
Yeah. Wow, man, that'd be great. We'll look forward to that. Hey, Clay, one last question. So, what was up with them always asking for $30,000?
I don't know where they came up with that number, but that seemed to them to have been the magic number. And we researched it. We got a lot of people. We found a lot of people that were their investors that were willing to go on camera about it, and I think they flat out talked about it, that they found people to invest $30,000. They found multiple people to invest $30,000, and they spent far less than that on the creation of the actual album, and spent far more than that on the party lifestyle they were living at the time. So I think they had quite a few dissatisfied investors. Some of the people we talked to were not very happy about it altogether. But it probably would have been a very different interview if we had done it 30 years ago.
Of course. Maybe that was just the monthly stipend they needed, like you were mentioning. That's what they needed to live off for every month.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Clay, thanks for taking the time. It's, fantastic. I mean, this is a story I think needs to be told and needs to be seen about, the whole thread, like you said, about just going for it and just, taking the good with the bad. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been really fascinating, and it's not. I'm not from the music world at all, and the way that this story has tended to resonate with musicians has been a real encouraging surprise to me. Alice Cooper, when he was recording the voiceover, just was saying over and over how he's like these guys did exactly what we did. He said, they all started out as soccer players, but my first band was the guys from my cross country team in high school. He said, he's like the only we were just making it until we got there, and the only difference is you guys got smart and gave up.
Oh, that's great. Hey, Clay, again, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Are you coming to the screening on Friday by any chance?
I believe so. I believe I am.
All right, terrific.
Yeah, I think. I think we're all. I think we're set up for that. I'm pretty sure.
You're all set up with passes and whatnot, I assume.
Yes, I believe so. Because I know I got a few screenings coming up, and I thought yours was on my calendar. Are you going to be there?
Right. Yes, I'll definitely be there at 2:45, and I'll have my cell phone with me. If you run into any troubles, just give me a ring or text me, and make sure to get it straightened out.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, I look forward to it. To see us all firsthand.
That sounds great. I will look forward to meeting you then.
All right, sounds great. So now, I'm off now. So have you decided? Have you picked up the desire to play the guitar or become a singer or anything?
I had a guitar when I was a kid. I never really learned how to play it, and the only real lessons my parents ever gave me was how to play the harp, which was really pathetic as a young man. But I suppose if your kid lacks musical talent, the harp is a good instrument to get them instructed in, because it's really hard to make that thing so bad.
I mean, it was probably a bit hard lugging it on your bike.
Right. I was one of only 3 nerds in the school whose parents had to come pick them up with a grocery getter to load that thing in the back. But,
so were you part of? So were you part of the group? One kid was the flutist, the other one the violinist, and you were the harp.
Right. Yeah, and an accordion for good measure. Right.
A little polka music.
Right.
Oh, you know what? What I forgot to ask you is socialmedia.com for the movie.
Oh yeah, it is. I think it's SKUMROCKS.com, and then we've got a Facebook page for it as well, and a Twitter account.
Excellent, perfect. Clay, again, thanks for taking the time. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your poolside.
I will. All right, take care. See you later. Bye-bye.